Have you all seen the latest in Ohio? The absolutely outrageous response from Ohio Republicans in denial that a strong majority of the state wants to have reproductive freedom and therefore put it into our Constitution through the vote last week on issue 1. Now, their response is actually quite typical because they've ignored constitutional amendments before. We had 2 that were supposed to end gerrymandering, and they simply defied those amendments long enough to give themselves what are currently illegal maps in the state of Ohio. So their reflex is to disobey the law and to disobey the voter will. But in this case, it's so outrageous, I want to explain it and then give you a way to help fight back, because we can't let this kind of stuff get any oxygen or momentum.
David Pepper, the former chairman of the Ohio Democratic Party, is absolutely correct. What Ohio Republicans are trying to do in response to the voters voting yes on issue 1 is absolutely, unequivocally outrageous. But they're known for doing outrageous things.
Well, what are they proposing in Ohio now? What's the legislation they're actually drafting up? It's to take courts out of the process, at least when it comes to the right to reproductive freedom the voters just voted for. They are saying that instead of having courts review the laws the legislature passes, who should do it? The legislature will review their own laws. That's right. They pass the laws, and then they review their own laws to tell us whether or not their own laws actually abide by the new constitutional right we just established. And they also said, by the way, that if courts were to ever get involved in such a case, that those judges should be impeached. Obviously, absolutely outrageous, absolutely lawless. It's the kind of thing you'd see a Viktor Orban do, or even a Putin, that they really just eliminate courts entirely and they get to review their own illegal laws.
Let me walk you back down memory lane. On election day, which was November the 7th, the voters of the great state of Ohio enshrined through a ballot measure reproductive rights in the Constitution by almost 60%. And the Republicans, their egos just cannot handle that.
Well, the question on the ballot today in Ohio is not simply a question of abortion rights. If this passes, it'll be the most extreme abortion law perhaps anywhere in the country. Allowing abortion all the way up through the end of pregnancy, taking away the rights of parents to have a say in the decisions that their children make. We've been making the case that it's just too extreme for a state like Ohio, and I hope and pray that the voters will see it that way as well.
Mm-hmm. And do you believe that healthcare providers who provide an abortion in Ohio should face penalties and perhaps criminal prosecution?
Well, that's not a part of what we're talking about here today. The question that's on the ballot says that can a healthcare provider, in this case the abortionist, make the decision of what's in the health interest of that patient?
As a dad with 3 young daughters, I'll never stop fighting to protect the health care of women, the rights of parents, and the sanctity of human life. The effects of this amendment are far-reaching and tragic. And I'm honored to stand with more than 1.6 million Ohioans who opposed it. I also recognize that we need to find a way to govern on this issue with compassion and consensus. I hope that guides our next steps.
So what are they doing? Just what David Pepper laid out. They are trying to usurp the will of the people. Pepper breaks down why what the GOP in Ohio are trying to do in response to a popular vote affirming that reproductive rights should be enshrined in the Constitution, but they just want to ignore that. And as he breaks down what it is the GOP is trying to do, basically just take the courts totally out of the equation. They want to strip the courts of their power. So let us get this right. They want to pass and review their own laws. I don't know, maybe they didn't get the civics lesson in elementary school, junior high, high school, maybe college. And if they did get the civics lesson that there are 3 co-equal branches of government, they're basically saying the hell with it. And very much on par with any other dictator in the world. Pepper mentions Putin as an example. I mean, really, what is the difference?
It's the kind of thing you'd see a Viktor Orban do, or even a Putin, that they really just eliminate courts entirely and they get to review their own illegal laws.
The GOP in Ohio has decided that they don't like what the people had to say, and so since they can legislate, they're just gonna legislate away the will of the people. That is patently dangerous, and it should concern each and every Ohioan. No matter your party affiliation, we should not allow any political entity to power grab. And that's exactly what the GOP are doing in their desperation. And not only are the Ohio GOP desperate, they're really showing a disdain for the voters. Just plain and simple. We shouldn't stand for it, Ohio. So Pepper laid out some things that folks can do to push back against this. OHIO looking directly at you, and that is to call the Speaker of the House, the Ohio House of Representatives, and let the Speaker know that he should not, in fact, allow this bill to go to the floor of the Ohio House because it is in opposition to what the voters just voted for and supported. That's number one. Number two, call the representative that introduced this bill, Representative Jennifer Gross, or Gross. Maybe that's how you pronounce her name, but it is gross what she is doing. And let her know that she is out of line with the Constitution of the great state of Ohio, and she's out of line with the will of the people in the great state of Ohio. Power grabs. Sisters and brothers and family and friends, we all should be worried about power grabs. We know the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely, and that is on full display in my great state. Shaking my head, it's such a shame. And this won't stop here in Ohio. This kind of behavior will percolate all over the country as members of the GOP understand that they've been handed on abortion, that voters from all types, all walks of life, different political ideologies are saying, no, Republicans, you have gone too far. And instead of them getting the memo, they've decided to tear up the damn memo, and they think they can do whatever they want. They absolutely should not be allowed to strip away the powers of the judiciary. The judiciary is a co-equal branch of government. Maybe the Republicans don't know that. It is our job to make sure that they do.